My fiancé mocked me one night and said, "I'm taking the kids if you don't obey." I walked away. I'm a 34-year-old guy, and I had been with my fiancée Rachel for almost 5 years. We met at a friend's barbecue, one of those lazy summer Sundays where you just drink cheap beer and play cornhole. She had this laugh that carried across the yard, and she made a joke about my terrible grilling skills. We hit it off fast, and things felt easy in the beginning. I thought I had finally found the person I could build a family with. By 2021 we had moved in together, rented a 2-bedroom place in Columbus, Ohio. She had 2 kids from a previous relationship, Emma, who was 7, and Mason, who was 5 when I met them. Their dad wasn't really around. Court orders, child support that barely ever came, missed weekends. I stepped up, willingly. By the time I proposed to Rachel in 2023, I felt like those kids were mine. I took them to soccer games, packed lunches, sat through parent-teacher nights. I was the one who showed up. For a while, everything looked good from the outside, but if I rewind, there were red flags. Rachel had this way of needing control in every small decision. Like if I got the wrong brand of peanut butter, she'd roll her eyes and say, "Are you even paying attention?" Stuff that seemed minor but chipped away at me over time. I brushed it off because I loved her and thought, hey, every couple bickers. Things took a turn in January of this year. I remember it clearly. January 12th, a Thursday night, 9:45 p.m. I had just gotten back from a late shift at work. I do it support for a regional hospital, and sometimes the calls run long. I walked in, dropped my backpack, and Rachel was on the couch scrolling through her phone. The kids were already asleep. She didn't even say hi, just looked up with this smirk and said, "So are you gonna start listening to me, or do I need to remind you what happens when you don't?" I was tired, confused. I said, "What are you talking about?" She locked her eyes on me and said, "If you don't start obeying me, I'll take the kids and you'll never see them again." It was the way she said obey that stopped me cold. Not compromise, not listen, but obey. Like I was some soldier under command. I laughed nervously, hoping she was kidding, but she doubled down. "Don't test me, David. I can make one call to my lawyer, and you're out. These kids will never be allowed near you again." Inside, I froze. These weren't legally my kids. I had raised them for years, but on paper I had no rights. That word hit me hard. Powerless. I managed to keep my voice calm and said, "Rachel, that's not fair." She smirked again and said, "Life's not fair. Do as I say." That night I barely slept. I stared at the ceiling thinking, is this what my life has become? Am I just a wallet, a babysitter she can threaten at will? Around 3:14 a.m. I made the quietest decision of my life. I needed to get out. The next morning, Friday, I went through the motion, packed the kids' lunches, drove Emma to school, kissed Mason on the forehead, but my brain was already working on logistics. I called my older brother Mark on my lunch break. He's a lawyer in Cincinnati. I laid everything out. He didn't even hesitate. "You need to document everything. Record if you can. Save texts, emails." She's crossing lines. Over the next 2 weeks, I played along at home, while quietly building my case. Rachel didn't know I had started recording conversations on my phone. On January 18th, at exactly 7:20, she snapped at me over something dumb, me forgetting to fold the laundry, and she said, "Do it now or I'll take the kids to my mom's and you won't see them this weekend." I had it recorded, clear as day. 2 days later, she texted me after I forgot to grab milk on the way home. "You're useless. Keep it up and you'll regret it. The kids are mine, not yours." I screenshot everything, but the worst was January. We were in the kitchen, and she was angry I had signed Emma up for extra math tutoring without asking permission. She leaned across the counter, poked my chest, and said, "You don't make decisions here." "I do. Obey me, or pack your bags. Because if you leave alone." My hands were literally shaking, but inside, I was calm in a strange way, because my phone was in my pocket recording the entire thing. By February, I had hours of recordings and a folder of screenshots. I showed them to Mark. He said, "This is gold. If she ever tries to take legal action or cut you off from those kids, we can demonstrate a pattern of emotional abuse and manipulation." He also connected me with a family law attorney, Linda, who explained that while I had no biological or legal tie yet, the courts in Ohio could consider psychological parent arguments given how involved I'd been. She advised me to hold steady, not tip my hand yet. Meanwhile, Rachel's behavior escalated. She started testing boundaries, like checking my phone when I was in the shower. One night she accused me out of nowhere. "Who's Jessica?" "Jessica is my coworker, a 55-year-old database admin." I showed her the emails, literally work schedules. Rachel sneered, "Doesn't matter. If you ever cheat, I'll take the kids the next day." I stopped arguing. I went quiet. I knew silence was my weapon now. I started stashing some of my paycheck into a separate account Mark helped me open. By February 14th, Valentine's Day of all days, I had $2,600 hidden away. That night she wanted to go out, but I was exhausted, and suggested we do something low-key at home. She flipped. "You don't get to decide. I decide. Put your shoes on." I said softly, "I'm not going." She threw her purse against the wall and screamed, "I swear to God, David, I'll take the kids and you'll never see them again." I walked out, not of the house yet, but of that fight. I went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and just sat there with my phone buzzing non-stop from her texts. One said, "You're dead to me." Another, "The kids will forget you in a week." It was 11:03 p.m. when I texted Mark, "I think it's time." He called back immediately, "Pack essentials. Don't announce it. Leave when she's out. We'll start paperwork Monday." 2 days later, February 16th, 6:45 a.m., Rachel left early to drop Mason at preschool. I already had a duffel hidden in my trunk. I kissed Emma goodbye, told her I'd see her after school, and then I drove off. My chest felt like it was splitting, but also for the first time in months I could breathe. I checked into a cheap extended stay hotel on the north side of Columbus. $71 a night. It smelled like stale coffee, but it was. I sat on that stiff bed, scrolled through the recordings, and whispered, "I'm not crazy. I have proof." That weekend I met with Linda, and laid out everything. She was blunt. This could go two ways. She could retaliate hard, or she could back down when she realizes we have evidence. She drafted a letter warning Rachel not to harass me, reminding her that I had documentation. Sunday night, Rachel found me anyway. 9:12 p.m., she showed up at the hotel lobby. I don't know how she tracked me. Maybe my credit card. Maybe mutual friend. She stormed in, voice loud enough for the clerk to stare. "So this is your plan. Run away like a coward. You'll regret this." I stayed calm. I said, "Rachel, I'm not talking without my lawyer." She laughed, this ugly sound, and hissed, "Obey or lose everything." That was the moment I realized she wasn't going to stop on her own, and that's when things really started to unravel. Rachel didn't leave quietly. She stood in that hotel lobby with her arms crossed, glaring like she owned the place. The clerk behind the counter looked uncomfortable, and I kept repeating in my head, "Stay calm, stay calm." I pulled out my phone, hit record right in front of her, and said, "Rachel, I've told you, no contact without my lawyer." She sneered. "Oh, so now you're recording me? Cute. Won't change the fact that you're nothing. Those kids aren't yours, David. They'll forget you by next week." It hurt, the way she said it, like those years I spent helping with homework, fixing scraped knees, standing in the cold at soccer practice, all just disposable. But I didn't show her the pain. I just looked her in the eye and said, "You're proving my point." Then I turned my back and walked toward the elevators. The clerk slipped me a sympathetic look as the doors closed. Inside the elevator, my hands shook so bad I had to put my phone in my pocket to keep from dropping it. The next morning, Linda filed an emergency motion for a protective order. Ohio law gave me a chance to at least block harassment. She also told me we had a bigger angle. Documenting how much I had acted as a parent could give me leverage if Rachel tried to cut me out completely. "The courts look at best interests of the child," Linda said. "Your involvement matters." Rachel didn't take the legal notice well. On February 20th, she blew up my phone. 32 missed calls in 2 hours. The voicemails ranged from sobbing apologies, "I didn't mean it. Just come home," to raging threats. "I'll ruin your life, David. Everyone will know you abandoned us." I sent every single one straight to Linda. By February 22nd, she escalated again. This time she messaged my boss on LinkedIn. She wrote, "You should know your employee David is emotionally unstable and abandoned his fiancée and her 2 kids." Do you want someone like that working in your hospital system? Luckily, my boss Mark Sullivan called me into his office the next morning and showed me. He said, "Look, I know your work ethic. This isn't my business, but document it." I almost cried from relief. At least somebody believed me. Meanwhile, the kids, that was the hardest part. Emma texted me from her mom's phone one evening. "When are you coming home? Mason misses you." My chest ached. I wanted to drive over right then, but Linda warned me, "Don't let the court decide. If you break boundaries now, she'll spin it against you." So I texted back simply, "I love you both. I'll see you soon." March rolled in, and the tension only grew. Rachel started a smear campaign on Facebook. She posted, "Some men just walk away from their families when things get hard. Cowards. Kids deserve better." She tagged me. Family, friends, coworkers saw it. I didn't reply. Mark's voice echoed in my head. "Silence is power. Let her dig her hole." But the real twist came on March 10th. Linda called me, almost giddy. "You're not going to believe this," she said. "Rachel filed for child support against you." I blinked. "But I'm not their legal father." "Exactly," Linda said. "And by filing, she opened the door to the court reviewing your role. We can counterfile for visitation rights under psychological parent ground." She just handed us leverage. That Friday, we went to court. Rachel walked in dressed to impress, heels clicking, hair perfect. She glanced at me with that smug grin, like she was about to watch me crash and burn. But when the judge asked her to explain the situation, she overplayed her hand. She ranted for 5 minutes straight about how I was disobedient and refused to obey her household rules. I watched the judge raise an eyebrow. He asked her calmly, "Miss Carter, are you saying the basis of your complaint is that Mr. Bennett did not obey you?" She stammered, "Well, yes, he wouldn't do what I said." Linda slid one of our recordings across the table. The judge listened to Rachel's voice on tape saying, "Obey me, or I'll take the kids, and you'll never see them again." The courtroom went dead silent. Rachel's face turned beet red. The judge looked straight at her. "Miss Carter, threats and coercion are not grounds for sole custody. At best, this demonstrates manipulation. At worst, abuse." He turned to us. "Miss Bennett, while you are not the biological father, your involvement appears significant. I will appoint a guardian ad litem to investigate the children's best interests." It was the first time I felt the scales tip in my direction. The guardian ad litem, a woman named Karen, interviewed me, the kids, Rachel, even Emma's teacher. 2 weeks later, her report came back. "Mr. Bennett has acted in a consistent parental role. Removing him abruptly would be detrimental to the children." Rachel exploded. She called me screaming, "How dare you turn everyone against me? You'll pay for this." I just said calmly, "Talk to my lawyer," and hung up. April was a whirlwind. Rachel's smear tactics backfired. Friends who saw her Facebook rants started messaging me privately. One said, "She's losing it, man. We all know who's been raising those kids." Even her own sister reached out. "I don't know what Rachel's doing, but the kids need you." By May, the judge granted me visitation rights, every other weekend plus one evening during the week. Rachel tried to block it at first, but the court order was clear. The first time I picked up Emma and Mason from her driveway, Rachel stood in the doorway, arms folded. Emma ran to me yelling, "Daddy," and Mason hugged my leg. I saw Rachel's face twist, like she realized she was losing control. Over the summer, the kids and I built new routines. Friday night pizza, Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday trips to the park. Every hand I held, every giggle in the car felt like proof I had done the right thing by walking away. Rachel, though, didn't. She tried one more stunt in July. She filed a false police report claiming I had kidnapped the kids during my scheduled weekend. But the court order shut that down instantly. The officer literally said, "Ma'am, he's within his rights." Rachel's credibility took another huge hit. By September, the judge issued a final ruling: shared parental responsibilities under the psychological parent doctrine. It wasn't the same as full custody, but it guaranteed my place in the kids' lives. Rachel was also ordered to undergo counseling for coercive control tendencies. The irony, remember how she threatened to take the kids and I'd never see them again? Now the court had permanently written me into their lives. Her own threats sealed the outcome. The last twist came at the end of the year. I learned through mutual friends that Rachel had been reported at work for hostile conduct. Apparently, her controlling behavior didn't stop at home. HR placed her on leave. Meanwhile, I got promoted at the hospital. My boss said, "You handled personal chaos without letting it affect your work. That shows character." Life moved on. By Christmas, I had my own small apartment decorated with paper snowflakes. Emma made and a Lego tower Mason built. They spent Christmas Eve with me, drinking hot cocoa and watching Home Alone. I sat there thinking, this is what family feels like. Not control, not threats, just love. Looking back, I don't regret walking away that night in February. If I had stayed, I'd still be trapped in Rachel's cycle of control. By leaving, I gained freedom, dignity, and most importantly, time with the kids who still call me dad. And Rachel, she ended up standing in the same courtroom where she once mocked me, hearing the judge say, actions have consequences. So when she laughed that night and told me, I'll take the kids if you don't obey, she didn't realize she was writing the script for her own downfall. Edit. For everyone asking, yes, the kids are doing well. Emma just started middle school. Mason's obsessed with dinosaurs. They're thriving. And me, I'm finally breathing again. To Rachel, if you ever stumble across this, you tried to weaponize the kids against me. Instead, you showed the world who you really are. I don't hate you, but I'll never obey you. I'll just keep being the steady, calm parent your kids deserve. Thanks for following this journey.